Hey, I'm James, and this is the first video in a series of 3 videos on creating games in VR. And I made this together with Deet, and in this first video, he's going to tell me about how he started his first business in high school and how he taught himself to code. There's like so many different directions with you, I feel like.
It's fine.
You like
We can.
art, coding, clothing. Where's an interesting place to start with you?
I think the most interesting place would probably be my high school years. I kind of during like whole quarantine and stuff. I didn't really get into like playing video games that much. My focus shifted less from like school and more onto like how can I like make money to fund my like gaming addiction and stuff. So I first started out like selling like on eBay and stuff like that, and I just got like just obsessed with trying to figure out how to like make money online. I started making like anime meme videos, and those like did really well on TikTok. And I would make like videos with my friends and stuff, and I think up until now I've probably gotten like maybe 100+ million views on all my videos during that time at least.
So that clothing brand was like your first business.
Yeah, I went from sort of being this like kid that was interested in anime to like, whoa, there's not any good like anime merchandise and stuff. So I like, because it was all like over the top and like very in your face. I wasn't like minimalistic. So in I think 10th grade, similar to how I got interested in entrepreneurship, I was like, let's buy my first embroidery machine. And I bought like a Brother 1700 or something on Amazon for like a ridiculous price. I bought it. I started making like some simple designs, and then after I think a few weeks of posting videos like nonstop on TikTok, I just had one design that did really well, and people were like wanting to buy it, and it was like a essentially like a devil fruit from like One Piece, just literally that. And so since then, I just fell in love with like making products and like shipping digitally or physically, like shipping it to someone else and seeing how they enjoy it.
How do you think e-commerce has gotten easier for people today since when you were in high school?
I think one thing that has gotten a lot easier is just getting a website, getting a platform to actually have someone give you money. Like 10 years ago, you had to like maybe go on Wix.com. We've sort of like seen an increase on online stores because of like Shopify. I think Wix is now doing stuff with stores, and it's like literally anyone can make their own online platform. They can sell sticky notes. They can sell controllers that they make, like custom make. The main thing is just like all these businesses that make it easy to start an online store, I think is the biggest growth factor.
Did you teach yourself coding?
For the most part, I've honestly just kind of been addicted to like Stack Overflow building projects. Sometimes I understand the code, sometimes I don't, but I try and get it done. And I took CS classes, but I never really found a lot of joy in them, and that's why I never got into CS at an early age, because I was always like sort of getting stuck in the beginning, where it's like teaching you how to build a calculator or building something like build your first HTML website, and it was never like what could this be? Is like what's the point of this? And then like one day I met one of my really good friends and now my roommate. His name's Thomas, and he was like, let's build more than a website. Like let's build a VR game. And I was like, I don't know how the hell we're gonna do that. So in like ninth grade, me and him met up at like a library, and we tried to figure out how to make our own VR game. Obviously, we kind of got stuck just playing VR games and kind of like getting distracted watching some YouTube tutorials. But it was like the closest thing I got to like actually building a project. That was kind of like where I dipped my toes into CS a little bit. Throughout my high school years, I wouldn't consider myself a programmer or a developer. It's only really something I've gotten very interested in the last like 8 months now. And yeah, like it's been an interesting journey, and development was not ever really something that I found very like pretty or very like fun or interesting until I realized like, whoa, you combine like art, and maybe if you're writing like a game in Unity, it's like C#. It's like you combine art and C#, then you can have like a really cool like 2D platformer game, or you can have a VR game. It's like all like these two like skills can really come together and make something awesome. My friend Thomas, he is now my roommate, and how me and him connected was because we love building projects, and he was kind of the one that was more technical than I was, and I saw him code and I was like, whoa, like I wanna be like him, especially when I see him like work on a project for like multiple days and it actually looks more than just like some simple HTML site that like you would learn in like a class. You can like add JavaScript animations and complex stuff. The main thing that like got me into it was definitely my friend, just seeing how he went from not knowing how to code to getting more technical and like in such a short time. It was like 6 months. He went from like, I'm gonna watch this 10-hour JavaScript tutorial and do something every day and build something, even if it's bad. And he also like I think surrounded himself. This is really important. Like surrounded himself with other coders, people who have been programming for years. And I think no matter even if it's programming or not, it's like if you have a community that is heavily focused on like one thing, whatever that thing is, you're going to get really good at it or you're going to get familiar with it. And that's, I think, what has led me to today, where it's like I'm getting more interested in development, even though I was not really in high school I was not considered a programmer like ever.
Can you tell me a bit about your education that you had growing up and how high school was for you?
Sure. Yeah. I think like high school for me was, it was never really a place that I like loved. I really loved like meeting new friends and stuff. But in ninth grade, like when I got to like this new high school, because it's like you go into this world that you were never familiar with, and you meet like all kinds of kids that were at different schools, coming and meeting and like trying to figure out who's who. It was kind of isolating at first because like I didn't know anyone, and when I met Thomas and like a few other friends, I would say it got a little better.
And tell me about Hack Club.
So that's it's kind of a short answer, but I found out about Hack Club through my friend Thomas, because when I realized like, whoa, he's like actually getting more technical. He's actually like getting more familiar with web development. He like built his first progressive web app. I was like, that's so cool. I want to figure out how to do that. And he started telling me about this community called Hack Club. It's like an online global community. You can find teenagers in India. You can find teenagers in Romania. It's like it's insane. I've never seen a more like global community, and it's incredibly welcoming too. I joined in like November 2022, so it wasn't like years and years ago. It was like during senior year. But I really do wish I found out about Hack Club like in freshman year, sophomore year. Like I could see myself becoming more of a developer in that sense. But I think like at that point when I joined, I wasn't in deep. I wasn't that big of like a programmer. It was only really when my friend Thomas decided to actually go and like contribute to the community and like work at Hack Club. And I was like, I want to join you. For the time we had at our like in our senior year, we ran our own like coding club at our school. So an example of like what that looked like was on Mondays at like 4 p.m. It's like, today we're going to be building a VR game in A-Frame, which is like a web-based VR framework. And so I brought not this headset because obviously it didn't exist back then, but I brought like my Quest 1 to the classroom, and like some kid like tried to build Minecraft. Another kid made like a dungeon, and it was cool seeing people build projects. But even during that time, I was just still so in deep. Like I wanted to try to be like a programmer, but I also wanted to try and like grow my like e-commerce site. So it was like I was always kind of torn in between on like which to do. But lately, I feel like only now I think I've gotten more into like programming, and it's definitely been like a big part of it.
Yeah, I also didn't realize for a while that no matter how much I practice or no matter how good I am at programming, I'll only be a fraction of how good I could be if I have a good community around me. I get that Hack Club is quite decentralized, but how many people are working full-time on it?
Yeah, Hack Club has like a small team. The ones that actually like really push for keeping this, this giant organization like stable to some extent isn't really the like small team in Vermont, but it's really like everyone. Hack Club's definitely built on teenagers and it's for teenagers. I guess to give you like a number though, it's about maybe like 20 people. And there's a lot of other teenagers, not a lot, but maybe like I think 7 or 8 that are on like this gap year contributing to the community in the sense that it's like full time every day almost, and just like sort of owning a certain part. I totally own like the Hack Club like media and content and stuff. So it's like I'm making sure like good content's going out. What's a really good video idea? How can we get more people to like? How can we get more teenagers to learn about Hack Clubs? How could I have gotten my freshman self to actually learn about this community and like contribute and make some kind of project? Coding doesn't have to be this boring classroom where it's like you are just taught like simple like documentation and not actually like creating something with it. Although that's not every classroom, but at least in my experience, that's what it was. It's been really fun like contributing to this community and like being able to create moments and just learn how to edit more too. Like I've always been a video editor, but I've never really been like a video editor. Like I don't do a lot of like programming at Hack Club, but I definitely do a lot of storytelling. I do a lot of like essentially filmmaking. So that's been really fun to do though.
Awesome. So I would love if you would show me a bit about how you make 3D games.
Yeah. So for context, like I said, I do a lot of filmmaking at Hack Club, but every single day that I'm not creating media at Hack Club, I am working on either a progressive web app, a Unity game, anything that's like a fun project. Like for example, yesterday it was Sunday and I was just in Boston. And I wanted to figure out like, okay, what's like a cool new game to like work on? And I was like, let me 3D model a capybara. So I just speed run this in like 15 minutes just to keep building something. And at that point, I ran out of time, but I wanted to implement it into like a VR game. Mm-hmm. And this right here is sort of like what a Unity project would look like. So about 2 or 3 months ago, me and Thomas were like, in the last 4 years, we haven't actually really built like a VR game that you can like play and like it won't end in like 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. So we decided to actually commit like every weekend just working on a VR game. So this is actually kind of what the beginning of our game looked like, where we wanted to have a table, a 3D model table, and we stuck some cups on top. We wanted to be able to simply pour chai or like tea into the cup. We didn't know how to do that. And we were like, let's just like use Stack Overflow if there's a problem. Let's use GPT. Let's get some code. And so I'll actually go like straight into it. So this is what the scene looks like. There's a few little extra details I didn't mention, like there's a little fire and stuff. But the main core thing we wanted to do was to be able to like grab this teapot and pour it into a cup. Mm-hmm. So my hands are not a little shaky, but as you can see, it works. And how we did it was kind of just getting creative and not like, we didn't sort of learn like the bare bones of C# and stuff. We heavily like prompted, we heavily took inspiration from another like YouTube tutorial, not about how to like pour it into a cup, but like how to like make like a liquid animation like move up. And it's something like simple like that. Like we did this in a weekend, mind you. Like this took us so long because we didn't really know how Unity worked. And there's a lot of tools in Unity. Like you can create a pixel art game, you can create something like this, a VR game, but you don't really like have a clear image of like what to build because there's so many things you can build. So that weekend we were just like, we want to be able to pour liquid in a cup and like someone comes up to you and like talks to you. But yeah, the game, we actually posted it on SideQuest. If you type in Life of Chai, you can then find our game and watch a trailer or look at some images. And this is like kind of how we started the journey of actually like making a game. Even if, it has 0 ratings or whatever, like the 4-year goal we had was to create a game. Even if it's bad, we just did it. And we got really inspired just from this like pouring animation. And the next thing we did, we went off to try and incorporate characters and stuff. We would import a lot of like assets from this website called 3D models-resource.com. And these are literally just from PS2 games, and like PS1 cool. games and stuff, and other sorts of consoles, which is pretty neat. And we took a lot of inspiration and basically just ripped some of the old models from there. And so it's like okay, this scene we want to have a waterfall with like a dolphin riding out of it. So it's like, okay, let's try and get this done fast because we have like a million other things we want to do. So it's like we look up dolphin. It's like, boom, Zoo Tycoon 2. There we go.
And anyone can just use these?
Yeah, anyone. I mean, obviously, if you were wanting to create sort of a game to go on, like, I guess Steam or the like App Lab store, I probably wouldn't recommend taking models off of here. But for the sake of like learning how Unity works and learning how like rigging a character, you can either rig it in Blender, rig it in Mixamo, rig it however you want. Like how like whatever saves you time. This worked for us, and it helped us like learn Unity just like that because we kept running into errors with certain things and we would figure it out.
So you two had this idea for an app. Let's make an app where I can use my hands and pour something into a cup, and then you went all the way to shipping that on the store. How much work is it from that idea to the ship product?
It was about in total, I think like 7 days, maybe 6 days. We only had about 3 weekends, and each weekend it was like Saturday and Sunday. Who's to say if we actually did it for 7 days straight, we probably would have lost our minds. But, but yeah, it took about 7 days.
And you both had quite a bit of experience with Unity already, right?
Kinda, but I mean, not really. Like we built like simple little games in ninth and 10th grade, but we never really like fully focused on a game. Like we didn't really know how Unity worked when we were at this point. But after I would say after the second weekend, we were like, oh, mesh colliders, like, oh yeah, like of course it needs a mesh collider. Like